Welcome all the YouTube enjoyers. Today, I'm gonna cover the second part of the Arc passive. Recently, we got a patch. They improved some of the Arc passives on some of the characters. Well, Destroyer didn't get any patches, but people are raging right now because of no patch. Let's see what they say. Rage Hammer. People lately started complaining about how harder and uncomfortable the Rage Hammer became. They thought that they got one of the best Arc passive at first, but after more players reached to Arc passive, they noticed how scuffed it is to charge the core from the blue skills into the purple skill, which gives a meter, and then you have to repeat this multiple times to get the full meter, and then you finally activate the Z, right? Now, having both core system and meter system is a double shackle. Shackle means like constraint. Also, the Z doesn't work as an igniter. Igniter, when they ignite, they get attack speed buff and the cooldown reduction kind of stuff, right? Destroyer doesn't have those two. Since Destroyer is a very slow class that doesn't run swiftness, and they have like long-lasting charging skills as well, it is very easy to miss the head, and you use 3 purple skills before the Z goes off, but it's not even that easy to land all 3 purple if the bosses are doing bad pattern. The worst part is when you bump into a situation where Perfect Swing is the only skill left for building the last part of the meter. You can't use the Perfect Swing during the Z if you use it to get the meter, since it's gonna be in the cooldown. Perfect Swing is the strongest skill, you don't want that to happen. But if you pick the other one, which is waiting for the other purple skills to come back to get the last meter, then that's also a DPS loss, is what's going on. So people are switching to Gravity Training Destroyer since that has less cons than the Raging Hammer. Gun Lancer. Blue Lancer didn't get a patch, but Red Lancer got the patch, right? So do you guys remember that here, there used to be a 5% additional shield penalty, and that part is removed, as you see. So because of that, the penalty became a lot more lenient for the shield meter, which means it doesn't suffer from the lacking shield anymore. So you will have more than enough shield if you just play as how you play in Season 2, is what people say. The DPS decreased by a little bit though, and the Nelasha debuff stayed. The Nelasha debuff is this part, right? Minus 80%, shield to the party member. But the overall gameplay became much comfortable and clean. So, people are saying, I think we should still take the Nelasha since we do Z DPS anyways. Just use it as Bard Guardian Tune vibe. That's what people are saying. Mayhem. Enhanced Shadow and Rush. These two Arc passive had a duration time, which was annoying, and they removed that. So you don't have to think about the sustaining the two kind of the stacks, like one from here, Enhanced Shadow, and one from the Rush. So it mentally feels better and less stress. But there's no ceiling patch though, is what people say. Now BT Zerger, the duration of the Z increased. This was 5 plus 5 before, right? But now it's 12 plus 12, so 24. You still do one rotation and turn it off. So basically, click the Z on, red dust, and then spam the DPS skills, and then Z off. But the difference is, number 1, you can wait for the cooldown of the red dust while you're in Z. So let me tell you what this means. Before the patch, because the duration of the Z is so low, you had to wait the cooldown of the red dust while not in the Z. But now, because the duration is much longer, you can just pre-activate the Z and wait for the cooldown of the red dust to come back. Why can you do that? Because you're gonna use one rotation and turn it off anyways. And when you're in the Z mode, you become much faster, so it makes the gameplay much better, is what's going on. The difference number 2 is when the boss becomes unattackable after you just activate the Z, then you just have to wait, and that's it. Before the patch, you literally wasted all the meter, so that was a GG. Paladin. The Paladin mains are very disappointed. Pally has easier access to the buff, right? Because Like his attack buff skills and the shield skills are 24-meter wide, like basically global, right? But has lower ceiling on the buff compared to other two supports. Because what does the ceiling mean? Basically, Pally attack buff skills has no attack speed buff. There's no resource buff as well. So Pallies were hoping for some ceiling patch, like some more like better and higher buff. They got this. That's a Aura. When you have at least 75%, you can activate it right away. This is what they got on this patch, and people are not liking it because this is not a ceiling patch. It's a floor, right? Floor increase patch. So people are saying it seems like day is the small gate. Small gate want Paladin to be a floor stabilized supporter. Why didn't they let us know the direction of the Pally much earlier? If I knew that small gate doesn't have intention of buffing the ceiling of the Pally, then I would have not made Pally and invest like, money like that. Pally is just a good ult supporter now. I always felt sad when DPSs were complaining about me not having attack speed buff and resource buff. Some people pointed out that supporters having different buffs on the third line main node is so wrong that they should let all the supporters have the buff united. So this part is this part, the third main node here. God's protection. So here, Pally gets resource, right? But this resource is not from the skill. It's from the X, the Blessed Aura, right? Which is bad. Do you guys know what other supporters have on this third node? Bard. Attack speed buff, guys. Artist. Movement speed buff. This is why Pallies are feeling that they're getting discriminated by a lot. Again, what they want is this third node part should be united. All the supporters should get the resource, movement speed, and attack speed buff is what people are saying. Predator. So there was a buff duration back in the day in the Deepening Fury, but they deleted that, right? There's no buff duration anymore, as you see. It's permanent. But the problem is this buff goes off when the Predator goes off, guys. So they're saying that the buff duration is not the problem in all capital. There are two biggest problems, and Smallgate didn't fix at all. Number one, all the buff stacks disappear when the Z goes off. I said that, right? And number two, exhaust. Because when the Z goes off, not only you lose the buff, you go into the exhaust mode where you do Z DPS, right? Spam OM. When exhaust happens during the burst moment, let's say that there's a like stagger like the moment, or like there's an obvious DPS moment, but because of the bad patterns that happened before those moments, your Predator went off like quicker than usual, and you're in a long time of the exhaust. What are we gonna do during that moment? It's a GG. When cutscene happens, and when someone don't skip, it's a GG as well. If you play with a Predator, Slayer right now in Korea, in the Discord voice call, then what they only say is skip, 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 skip. When the cutscene happens, skip, 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 skip. One of the quotes says, "I'm very worried about Broshaza raid on September since she will have worse patterns than Aegir and so on. The main node buff should not disappear, or the stack system should be removed and grant the full buff from the start." So this part is this part, right? Deepening Fury. These like 10 stack, 30% buff, right? This 30% buff should be granted when you Z. That's what people are saying. Not as a stack, granted full from the start. Because it's gonna disappear anyway when the Predator disappear. Or the buff stack should not disappear even when the Predator goes off. Either two is what people are asking for. Okay, next one, Punisher. Back in the day, after they used the Blood Rust, there was this 8 second of outgoing damage, right? That 8 second got disappeared. So you might think that, oh, people are now happy, but it isn't. They fixed the buff duration, which was one of the biggest problem, but they didn't fix the other one. Using the Blood Rust as the first skill of the rotation. Memo, why is that the problem though? Forcing the Blood Rust as the first skill delays the rotation of other DPS skill. In Season 2, you use the skills as higher priority over the Bloodburst, because Bloodburst is something that gets a cooldown reset when you go into the like Zeo gate, right? You can flexibly use the Bloodburst on like, you know, in between the any cycle. Yeah, like before the second guillotine. But now you can't even use the 2 guillotine tactic because you have to use the Bloodburst as the first skill. Is the buff coming from the Bloodburst at least rewarding these 12% damage? No. The name of the Punisher, you know, main node is Unstoppable Fury, and the name of the Predator is Deepening Fury. Like, people are memeing that I am feeling the Unstoppable Deepening Fury, these bozo small gates. Lastly, they say the only thing that's left for Slayer is having big tits. There you go, guys. There you go. Smilegate fixed these classes. Yeah, it's so bad. Alright, Scrapper. Ducking is such a bad arc passive, and they can't believe they didn't do a shit. What is ducking? Here it is. Ducking. Movement distance plus 1 meter. Outgoing damage 7% for 10 seconds after using spacebar. The rotation gets bound to a spacebar Keck W. People are not even asking for a buff or a rework on that skill. They want it to be removed. There it goes. Both Scrappers, guys, because Tajisu can also use this, by the way. Next, Pinnacle. There's a Q-ult. Bro, is it hard to let us press the X skill while casting? So what happened to the Pinnacle Glaivier is that this X skill had a 0.5 seconds of animation, which delayed the rotation, right? Very annoying. But that 0.5 second delay is gone. But the problem is you can't use it during the skill. It's not like you pull the red dragon horn like this and then click the X, like, you know, during the animation. You can't do that. You have to click the X and then red dragon horn. The animation at least disappeared, but there's still a short delay when shackling into Z to X and then red dragon. The only way to not have delay is making it usable while casting like Asura's X, guys. That's the only way, and I agree on this. Alright, for control Glaiviers, they got push immunity on the X skill, so, like, you know, yeah, they're good. Yeah. Striker. Death Blow. SO skill damage minus 20-something% damage, guys. Death Blow is the only class that has a arc passive that decreases the damage of their skill, guys. And they were sure that Smilegate will, like, you know, either reduce that penalty or remove the penalty, but they didn't touch that part at all. Is what is making them surprised. People say we want Deathblow to be a one-shot playstyle like a Broken Breaker, not like a scuffed consistent DPS like now. The reason why, like, people are claiming that the Deathblow is now a consistent DPS right now is because, so basically you have to use the nerfed SO skills multiple times to build 16 orbs, and then your next SO skill does 80% more damage. The damage proportion of this, you know, 16 orb SO is not that great. The damage proportion of these negative damage skills actually have, like, you know, higher proportion at the moment. So that's not a burst class then. That's a consistent class. Spam OM, guys. How can this be called as a death blow? Says people. People are copiuming that there's something huge that's gonna come with the Hyper Awakening if they didn't do anything to us now. For example, what if the Hyper Awakening is an SO skill, so they get benefit from all these arc passive? Huge, massive copium from the Deathblow Strikers. You guys deserve the copium. Spam 07 chat. SO Striker became remarkably better than Deathblow after the patch. What did they get? This part. Dance Enhancement. So they changed the name. Like, the name was originally like SO Chain, like something like that, right? You had to use the SO skill into SO. So, which acted like a shackle. But now, they increased the normal skill damage by 20 as well, which didn't exist before. They gave you the 10% attack speed as well. They gave you a lot of goods for SOs, guys. Let's see what people say. The 10% attack speed buff part is actually noticeable and goated. People are happy of running away from Deathblow to SO. But at the same time, they feel smosh. There you go, guys. Yeah, strikers are maybe better than the slayers. Pistolier, Deadeye, right? Got a push immunity on the Z skill. This one, secret weapon. Enhanced weapon. Shotgun skills damage do not split anymore. They are shown as one figure. Okay, for this part, for people who doesn't understand, this thing right here, this side note here, used to be called as like, some other stuff. And that divided the damage figure into 4. So for example, like, the shotgun skill which hits like 3 times, like tongue, it does like 3 times of damage, right? But it does 12 times of damage instead because it shows 4 figures, tongue, tongue, and tongue, like that. It made the visuality much chaotic, which Deadeyes did not understand why the F they split the damage, like, visuality like that. And that part, they fixed it, guys. Yeah, the enhanced weapon buff duration increased by 4 seconds. Okay. No more, like, -2 pistol skills, penalty for getting the +1 shotgun skill. So you basically get 3 +1 shotgun. Is that true? This part, strategic equipment. Yes, the -2 pistol skill, part got disappeared, right? Now let's look at the reaction. Enhanced weapon players think that above changes should have been given from the first as a default. They are not happy about this soy patch. The biggest problem of the enhanced weapon is the close shot tripod on the shotgun skills. But since this was an arc passive patch, they understand not patching that part. But they should have added cooldown reduction on the shotgun skills or making the casting of the shotguns faster through the arc passive. Reiji. Barrage. ACT minions increased from 3 to 6. What is this? Act. This one, their main node. Call ACT. Summons 3 Archetype combat turrets, can summon up to 6. This was, the limitation was 3 before, but now 6. So for this part, if I show you how it looked like, so there's a awakening turret here, and there's 6 turret minions, and the barrage himself is sitting on the chair as well. People are saying that this class is the true summoner. People are liking the changes for now. Good. Firepower enhancement. Got nothing. Lie down. The overheat arc passive, resetting the firepower meter to 0 is something that can be fixed later. This part right here, see? There's a penalty that turns the meter into 0 on this overheat, right? But they don't understand why the cooldown of the gunfire strike is still 80-second long. This one. Cooldown 80-second long. There's a quote saying, "Is this an awakening? Bro, how is the cooldown more than a minute?" Other arc passives are good for fire enhancement, but these two, gunfire and overheat, has big problem. The overall DPS is definitely stronger than Season 2, but that's like for every classes. There's no advantage playing firepower enhancement over the barrage at the moment. Legacy Scouter. You can now control the AI after escaping from the Iron Man. So it's this part right here, right? Strategic escape. After the hypersync is disabled, it summons an AI that combats for 10 seconds. So this part is what they fixed, and that's it. You can control the AI. People are mad. This is not what we wanted. The biggest problem of the Legacy is strategic escape arc passive having such a long delay of escaping out from the suit. What part is this? Machinist immediately escapes to the rear, the backside, and the hypersync like suit changes to the AI. So if I show you how bad the back tumbling is, I can't like, make this big because the quality is so bad, but you can see that, look at this one. It tries to escape, back tumbles, shoom, like that. You see that frontal delay? It's like that. You see? Yeah, just now. And then, yeah, it's pretty slow. It takes like, like around 2 seconds, right? Just like that. People are not using this node at all for now. But later, when the points become abundant, then they have to invest it, and it will be very ragey. Why do you have to invest it later on? Because it increases sync skill damage, guys. Spam OM, guys. Yeah, great. What a great design, bro. AT Scouter. Very mad as well about the patch. Just increased little damage, period. Quote saying, if you think about arc passive system lasting for the entire season, it's very important to get improvement on structure and utility. I don't understand why they didn't block the Z, the transform, that's useless for AT, and give us the new skill instead. This class is the only class that didn't get a new skill among the non-identity classes. Why can't they just make it like a FPE Artillerist? Because FPE Artillerist, they blocked the wheelchair, the Z button, and they gave you the new skill, right? AT Scouter doesn't even have that kind of stuff, is why people are complaining. Also, they fixed a bug on Core Enchant arc passive. This one, Core Enchant. So if you see this part, Core Energy plus 20%, right? They fixed the bug on the Core Enchant, giving more battery than intended. So they fixed that part, which is basically a nerf to the AT Scouter. And the people are saying that it's noticeable that AT Scouter is getting less battery. Okay, CO Summoner. So this skill used to have 100 stacks. Every time your minions attack the mob, then the buff stacks, and if it reaches 100 stack, then it deals massive damage. It used to be 100 stack, but it got reduced to 40. That's a lot of buff, right? 40, so minus 60. But they also decreased the damage of this explosion by 60. And they also lowered the stagger from the mid to low. And people are like, huh? Okay, I get why they decreased the damage by 60%, because, it's proportional, right? But why did they even nerf the stagger as well? Is what, people are saying. There's a quote saying, the developers are threatening us to quit the game. Bro, please. The minion skills themselves are the problem. Please fix the auto cancel from using the skill. And also, increase the attack speed of the minions, please. Elseed has a critical bug. She often stays still and takes forever to do her first attack. And when the boss moves away from Elseed, then she applies a zero-party synergy. Welcome to random synergy world of Elseed! Exclamation mark is how people are being sarcastic. To make CO better, they should add arc passive that duplicates the minions to feel as a true summoner, is what some people are saying. Assassin, Surge. Increased the stability. Basically the floor damage got increased. What did they do? The sword energy compression, this one, it used to be 3 stack max and 12% damage per stack, so 36, right? But now they changed it to 2 stack max with 18% damage. So requires 1 less surge rotation to get the full buff. People are like, okay for now. Demonic Impulse Shadow Owner. Blood Piercing, this main skill, used to require 100 stacks, but now it requires 60. So people are like, oh, good. But then something like happens. You cannot build stacks after you use this skill. So this is obvious intention from the small gate to prevent the blood piercing 2 times in the one transform. They are mad about the patch since this is a message of the developers saying, hey yo, Demonics, you are not allowed to do more than this much damage. No ceiling for you guys. Now the playstyle is like you reach 60 stacks, you use the blood piercing, and then you transform off, click the Z again, and build the meter again, and repeat. The players don't understand why the skill has to be a stack required skill. Can't they just make it like Legacy Scouter, Because Legacy Scouter, how their new skill is like is it's not a stack. It's just once per transform. So basically, you can use the skill right away after you transform. Perfect Suppression, Storm Grinding skill passive. So this skill right here, this upper part is the active part, the skill damage part, and this lower half is the passive of this skill. The stack duration became 20 seconds from 15, as you see this part. It used to be 15. Because of this, they can run up to 3 spender skills regardless of the build, whether it's Entropy or Hitmaster. This actually increases more DPS, but this does involve with higher pressure, so basically the constraint like Shackle. Alright, next one is Reaper, Lunar Voice. You remember this, new arc passive? They have to land the swooping, the red skills, as a back attack to get this buff. And when you do that for 3 times, the next red skill does this much damage, regardless of the position. So they increase the duration, and this is a floor patch. Nothing to do with ceiling, which prevents the buff running out when you miss the skills. Makes sense, right? Still, people say it is omega hard to play Lunar Voice. Not a lot of people are coming up with actual raid POV, but there's only Trixion, DPS Parse, Keg W. Yeah, the class is like so hard with the arc passive right now. Everything is a risk and shackle. You should never miss the meter gain skills to activate Persona, and you should never miss the back attack on the red skills as well. And if you do miss it, then Rage Spear does not get this buff, but Glowing Brand or Dancing with Fury ends up getting the wrong buff, which decreases the DPS by a lot. You have to be more sensitive on watching patterns on Persona timing. You must land everything as a back attack, every red skill. Recommended for people who seeks for challenge. If you overcome it, then the return is real. Now let's go to Hunger. People ran away from Lunar to Hunger after tasting how hard the Lunar is. But then, lately, people are coming back to Lunar from Hunger. And here's the reason why. Lunar does have, worse, higher shackle, risk compared to Hunger. But the return is rewarding, though. On the other hand, Hunger is not rewarding, even though she, this class also has a shackle. What's the shackle for the Hunger? Conviction and Judgment Rune. This, from the Hunger's, skill, does not proc often. Very stressful. But still, you have to run it because running the Conviction and Judgment shows the highest DPS. And after you proc the Conviction and Judgment, you have to spam 7 to 8 red skills before the 10-second, arc passive buff ends from the Killer Instinct, this one right here. Grants a damage buff by 50% for 10 seconds. So you have to do a proper DPS, you have to land 7 to 8 red skills in this 10 seconds, is what Hunger Reapers are saying. The red skills should be used fast as possible to get benefit from both Conviction Judgment, a duration, and the Killer Instinct duration. Well, guys, I guess both are really hard, guys. I guess at this point, why do you play Reaper then? Night Edge Soul Eater. Remember my latest video? This used to require 10 stacks, and it was impossible with the Harvest, skill. So you had to run a skill called Thrashing, right? Which is so bad. Now, what they did is that they decreased the stack from 10 to 9 stacks. So only 1 stack. Does that make a big difference? Surprisingly, it does. People are saying this actually allows people to use the Harvest over the Thrashing. So they are coming back to the Harvest, guys. It's still tight though, but definitely better than before. By coming back to Harvest, the DPS overall got increased as well because Harvest does more DPS than the Thrashing. Later, when you can invest 5 max points on an arc passive called Soul Control, side note, then it will be way much better. Let's see what this is. Soul Control. Soul Snatch the Z, right? Duration increases by 3 seconds. Ah, there you go, guys. That's huge, chat. So, The Night Edge like future is at least promising. Artist. They used to fight with Bard in the forum because because of jealousy, like how good the Bard got from the arc passive compared to other 2 supporters. But after the patch, artists are fighting each other. So internal combat is happening, guys. Spam kick W. This used to be 4 seconds, so you can use 1 bubble, and that increases 10% damage 4 seconds. But now what it does is that the duration got increased by 1 more second, 5 seconds. And not just that, 2 more like new thing got added. It refunds 5% of the harmony gauge if you use a 2 bubble. And this part as well. When you use the heal, the sunrise, the X heal, right? Then the range of the sunrise increased by 2 meters. Okay, honestly, like this part and this part might be good, right? But whoever designed this part, bro, get fired, bro. Yo, what will this do to the artist? So anyways, with that buff, some people are saying the 1 bubble giving 5-second damage buff is actually cracked. Versus, what the F? Are you satisfying with this floor patch? We deserve better. So these 2 kind of groups of ayayas are like, fighting each other right now in the artist forum. People are saying that stop fighting each other. We need to unite to fight against Smaugate. Yeah, sounds ayayatic, right? Spam ayaya. Wind Fury. The side node, Path of the Wind, this one right here, requires 2 stacks. Each stacks of 3%, so that's 6% damage, right? Instead of 3 stacks of 2% each. So basically, 6% damage is same, but it became much more convenient, right? Lastly, Drizzle. The 10-second duration of the buff stacks for Dazzling Day and Vapor Charge, these 2 arc passive, got removed. So now it's permanent, right? So this is a floor patch, people say. People are coming up with 1-7 build. What does this mean? 1 like umbrella skill and 7 weather skill. Basically, people run 2-6 normally, right? The Drizzle. But you replace the spread, which is an umbrella counter skill, by another counter skill, which is a weather skill, Thick Fog. Why 1-7? Because weather skill does more damage as a Drizzle, right? Than the umbrella skill. But the problem is, it does do higher DPS, but some people are like skeptical, like reluctant, since you have to exchange it for like, a skill that has better utility. Spread has a tripod that gives movement speed buff for 4 seconds and the cooldown is 7 seconds. So it has high uptime, right? On the other hand, Thick Fog is 16-second cooldown, but only 5-second, a duration for the movement speed. This part, just run the skill that you want to choose, I guess. Anyways, guys, that's all for today. If you guys liked the video, I grinded my ass for like, studying this again to cater you guys with all this stuff. Do you like it? Yes, I like it. The flow looks good. 07. Bye, guys. Bye.